Word up, BookTube, homeboys and homegirls, dudes and dudettes. It's tag time. Being the music lover I am, this tag is right up my alley. It's called Rock On, Rap Songs Book Tag, created by Nicole over at Nicole's Bookish Nook. And I was tagged by Joe and Mary of Book Buds. I was going to shout their name Book Buds like they do in their channel, but I ended up sounding like Pee Wee Herman. Like, Book Buds! Not important. Anyway, let's get going. Let's see, there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 prompts. And the 10th one, of course, being to tag other people. So let's get started. Each prompt is centered around a song and then a theme related to that song. So here we go. Number 1, It's a Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z. A fiction or nonfiction book about an orphanage, a poor family, or an orphan. First one that came to mind was one that was a book that was really popular a few years ago, so I had to read it to see if it lived up to the hype. And that was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. We start off with this young girl, and I don't know why, for whatever reason, I can't remember the name of this girl. Just a second. Kaya. Okay, K-Y-A, Kaya. There we go. Hey, well, this young girl is down south, like she's left like abandoned by her family. Like the mother walks out, the father disappears, the brother goes off to war because he escapes the abusive household. So we follow this little girl all alone in her house, and like the whole time we're reading this, you just look at her, how she adapts and survives. Like she kind of learns to live on her own. I remember reading, as I'm reading, I'm looking at like would you look at this little survivor? Like really really warmed my heart to see this little girl in this book. Also, of course, it's like part murder mystery too, which made it even more interesting. And so yeah, that was a good one. Where the Crawdads Sing. I remember I equally loved the movie too. It was very faithful. Number 2, let's see, Walk This Way by AEROSMITH and Run DMC. I love both these groups. A favorite book that blends genres. I didn't really have I really had to go deep into my memory bank for this one because I read usually nonfiction or fiction books that are very realistic. But I came up with one. It's called Darkness on the Edge of Town. Once again, this came out a few years ago. It was one of the books that came out in addition to like the series Stranger Things on Netflix. They wrote little like side books about the little extra characters and whatnot. And this, I haven't read any of those books, but this book I wanted to read because it centers around my favorite character, Hopper. Remember the story takes place like if I remember correctly, it was like in between seasons 2 and 3. It's like we follow Hopper like in present day, and then like we flash back to when he was a young cop in New York City. And of course, we're in the world of Stranger Things. Wasn't the greatest read, but as I said, I love Hopper, so I wanted to read that book. Oh boy, I'm kind of dreading this next prompt, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Number 3, Just Lose It by Eminem. A book that you think is funny or ridiculous in a bad way. My God. It was a couple years ago I read a book. It was so ridiculous. Like it was so bad it was ridiculous. Oh good Lord. And then I try not to be negative on my channel. If I don't like a book, I don't talk about it, or I try and come up with something. This book I couldn't come up with anything. It was Billy Summers by Stephen King. Oh, I mean, right from the first chapter I knew it was going to be rough. I mean, first of all, we have Billy Summers. He's like a retired military, now he's an assassin. He's a sniper. He's hired by mob bosses to take out a guy at the courthouse he's got to testify, take down the mob, that type of thing. And they hired Billy Summers to assassinate him. But what Billy Summers does, at first it's kind of interesting. He puts on a facade. Like the real mobsters never really know the true him. He calls it his dumb self. Like here he is, like Billy Summers. He's like very well read. He's a very smart guy, but he puts on this facade as dumb self, so the mobsters don't know the real him. Now, obviously he doesn't want them to know the real him to, I guess, for his own protection. But last I recall, his real name is Billy Summers. So, yeah. So yeah, if the mobsters know you like to read and you're smart, they can use that against you. But no, use your real name. And that was just the first chapter. I'll leave it at that because it didn't get any better from there. Oh good Lord. At one point, because he pretends to be dumb, At one point, I'm paraphrasing, but at one point, some guy says to Billy, "Hey, don't forget your scope," like last time. Like, the sniper forgot his scope. And this is the guy they hire to take out a very important witness at a trial. Oh, God. That was like the first quarter of the book. I don't know how. I think my brain erased the rest of it because I can't even remember a lot after that. What do you call it? It was like, yeah, I like my brain. My brain protected me from reading the rest of this. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to a much better prompt. Number 4, Thunderstruck by AC/DC. I saw them in concert in 2009. It was like their last of their run of like the original guys at their peak. They're amazing. Anyway, Thunderstruck by AC/DC. A book that shocked you in a good or a bad way. This one I read a few years ago, Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. This book is like well over 100 years old. And like it was just like it was incredible. Like it's just like the prompt says, it just shocked me. Like so you'll keep it basic, like Tarzan. And I guess what I'm about to say, like it's very minor, a couple minor things in a big story. So I guess you can consider the spoilers if you want. I think like 2 things, like Tarzan. How is he able to speak English? Well, it's very limited. I was like, this baby's raised by gorillas. How does he learn to speak English? Well, while he's exploring his habitat where he is, he comes across the little hut his father built when his parents were deserted there. And so there's these corpses there. There was parents. They don't know that. Well, he doesn't know that. Excuse me. And so he finds their belongings, and he comes across like baby books, like alphabet, ABCs. So he reads them, and that's kind of how Tarzan speaks somewhat of English. Like, it makes sense. It shocked me. And the second thing too, like Tarzan, like how does this human being gain dominion over the apes? You know, like even like a really strong guy, a gorilla, would tear you apart. So how does he gain dominion? Well, when he finds his father's body, he finds a sword. So now man has a weapon. And that's how he kills his foe and gains dominion over the apes. It makes sense. Like I said, it shocked me how much I love that. And Lord, I know there's a whole bunch more books in the Tarzan world as well. I gotta check those out at some point. All right, number 5. Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. A book about LA, or a book that takes place in or around LA. Once again, I was going through my memory bank trying to find a book that took place in or around LA, and I only got one. It was right over here. It was originally a movie, then adapted into a novel. One of my favorite movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino. I think one of the reasons I love this too, because like my mother was a big like cinephile, big time, especially this era. This was her era. So like when like in the book and the movie, they reference like all these people, all these little different things that people from this time period would understand. I understood every single one of them too. It's like my mother's encyclopedic knowledge of this time period for that. So yeah. Also, do you remember around the time this movie came out that people were saying how Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish? Well, yeah. Well, look at that cover. I recall in the movie, this is when Brad Pitt's character Cliff Booth and picks up the Manson girl. She's in the Manson family. Ooh. So yeah, and she puts her dirty feet up right on the dashboard. So people trying to say Quentin Tarantino had a foot fetish, it was pretty apparent. Yeah. Anyway, amazing story. Love it. Okay. Number 6, one of my favorite groups. Prompt is Gimme All Your Lovin' by ZZ Top. Your favorite romance book or your favorite couple in a book. Yeah, I don't really read quote-unquote romance books. I mean, I've read books about people meeting each other and see how their story turns out. This one couple right here, they've been like the subject of a book every year since like 2001. We have Joe and Mary Beth Pickett of the Pickett series by C.J. Box. You know, like I said, this guy's C.G. Buck's been writing one book a year for like 20 years now. And, you know, it's kind of like Agatha Christie and Hercule Poirot. Not every book's a winner, but you come back for each book because you love the character so much. There we go. Joe and Mary Beth, all of them and their daughters. And now, where we are in the series now, the daughters are both like in their 20s, out of the house and married and whatnot. Yeah, there we go. Joe and Mary Beth. Good family, man. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Number 7, Fight for Your Right to Party by Beastie Boys. A book centered around a celebration. This I had nothing. What threw me off, centered around a celebration. I was trying to think of novels, I had nothing. So I didn't want to leave the prompt empty, so I'm starting thinking about plays. Any plays I've read, and I came up with a good one of my favorites, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams. It centers around, the whole production, the whole show takes place inside of a house. They're celebrating the birthday of Big Daddy. His character named Big Daddy, and his whole family's there. Originally, I had seen the movie. It was phenomenal. It was Paul Newman, Elizabeth Taylor, a bunch of other great people, and I read the play afterwards too. It was fantastic. And once again, it's centered around Big Daddy's birthday. And again, I'll just say this: I don't know much about Tennessee Williams, but his strong suit is the dialogue. You see all these characters together; they're working their stuff out. It was incredible. So, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Yeah, there we go. Where did I leave off here? That was number 7. So, number 8. The song Firestarter by Prodigy. A book that has fire in the title or an orange/red cover. Well, I'm going to go with a book that coincidentally has the same title as this prompt, Firestarter by Stephen King. So, this was the monthly pick back in December of this Club of Men on Fable, and it was I never read it before. Never even seen the movies. And I guess it's kind of like rooted in somewhat reality. It's like back in the day, the 70s, when they were doing like LSD experiments on test subjects to try and expand the mind, see what happens. Don't quote me on this. I think it was like President Gerald R. Ford who said, "Okay, enough of that." I think he ended the LSD experiments, but it was a true thing. And so we have this couple. They have a daughter who can start fires with their mind. And the government, it's not even the government, I think it's like a private agency. Anyway, they want her, and they're after her. They're going to use her as a weapon in this time period, probably against the Soviets too. And it was great. It was like an X-Men origin story. It was fantastic from beginning to end. Okay. Number 9, final prompt here, Humble by Kendrick Lamar. Let's see, a fiction or nonfiction book that left you stunned at the audacity of the main character or author. Okay. First thing that popped in my mind was a nonfiction book from 1970. It was called Ball 4 by Jim Bouton. Jim Bouton was a pretty damn good pitcher in baseball back in his day. And he wrote, from what I can tell, is the first celebrity tell-all. He wrote all sorts of stuff about his life, good and bad dealings with managers, stuff about other players. And I gotta tell you, when I read it, I didn't enjoy it at all because it was very negative. And plus the stories he's telling about different people, it's it's private stuff in their lives too. It's about players drugs they were experimenting with on the bus, or some guy maybe he had a bad day and you're telling that something he did and maybe he's ashamed of now. And this is none of your business to tell anybody, especially for your own benefit. And yeah, I just did not enjoy reading it all. I thought this guy had some nerve to write this, and he got blackballed for it. And I gotta be honest, I think he got what he deserved. He was blackballed for baseball, but not long. Only a couple of years, and then he came back and resumed his pitching career. Yeah. Like I said, the audacity of the guy. And, so I think, that's where it's led to today. It's anytime people write tell-alls now, they do the smart thing. They write tell-alls about people who are dead. They can't sue them. So remember that, kids. If you're going to expose someone else's dirty laundry, make sure they're dead. There you go. Oh yeah, Jim Bouton. Oh, and there's actually a fantastic... If you want to learn more about Jim Bouton during this time in his exile, so to speak, There's a fantastic documentary on Netflix called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. It's about like this independent baseball team in the early 70s. They were owned by the actor Bing Russell, the father of actor Kurt Russell. And like Jim Bowden went to play for these guys during his exile. And they were doing some incredible stuff. Like they were a ragtag group of players up against like teams funded by Major League Baseball, and they were winning. It was incredible. So yeah, The Battered Bastards of Netflix. You know, if I find a trailer on YouTube here for that, I'll post it in the description box below for you. Could not recommend it enough, and very timely too, because baseball season is almost underway. And let's leave it at that, folks. I will tag a few people, of course. And as always, just because you're tagged doesn't mean you're obligated to participate. We tag people to draw attention to other people's channels. Okay. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there. Drive safe in the winter. Take care.